This is Valley News Live at 5.
Good afternoon, everyone. We begin with more local students having been charged in connection to the Devious Licks TikTok challenge. Moorhead School District officials say they have charged 2 students in connection to the thefts and vandalism associated with the internet trend. Officials said several students have had to pay for damages they caused. A school representative said while thefts have slowed down, some students have been referred for charges of theft or vandalism. Keep a sharp eye out for burglars in Clay County alone. Authorities are reporting a noticeable increase in numbers. Investigators have been working on 30 cases spread throughout Clay County since June 1st. And the thieves aren't picky. They're taking anything that they can get their hands on. As Valley News Team's J.C. Dodd found out, authorities are warning everyone living in the rural parts to be on guard as they try something new to catch the crooks.
We have to do something to try and curb this stuff for our community, and we're going to do whatever it takes.
Clay County Sheriff Mark Empting says in recent months his office has been flooded with burglary and theft reports. He says the thieves are targeting rural vacant properties and construction sites, taking things like catalytic converters, tools, and anything not locked away. In an effort to try to catch them in the act, investigators will be patrolling rural areas at early hours in the morning.
And we've definitely upped our patrols and a way to try and curb this a little bit more,
The sheriff is urging anyone who sees anything suspicious to call dispatch.
Maybe they see a vehicle out there that doesn't belong in the area, or why is that car on this deserted township road at 4 a.m.? We're going to go check on that.
Empting says his office is also checking with local pawn shops for any suspicious or stolen items. And he strongly recommends people living in rural Clay County install camera systems on their property. He says camera footage is a tremendous help to their investigations and says the best are the systems that download directly to your phone.
That way you get an immediate notification and you can call us right away.
In Clay County, J.C. Dodd, Valley News Live.
Now, the sheriff is also asking beat truck drivers now working in rural parts of the county to help keep an eye out for anything suspicious. Breezy conditions continued today, as did the heat, but Hutch has word of changes coming this way. Hutch?
Indeed I do, Mike Markin. Good evening, everyone. As we head into our hump day, those big changes are very apparent on our weather maps. Take a look at the clouds to the west of you in the Devil's Lake Basin. There's some showers and thunderstorms there. The temperatures today in the valley and points east are about the same as they were yesterday. But look at the central and western Dakotas, where it is 30 to 45 degrees colder than yesterday at this very time. A cold slap in the face of air, and along the boundary, well, that's where we have what we call a cold front. 87 Fargo. Look at the 90s for Roseville and Hallock, and we compare that to those 50s in Dickinson. Temperatures are warmest up there in northern portions of the valley and northern Minnesota, as well as Lakes Country. And right here in the Red River Valley, showers and rumbles of thunder making their way through the Devil's Lake area. But really from Jamestown and points south, just off into the western parts of Dickey County, Edgeley, you're going to see a shower, as is Jamestown. Right now, thunder working its way into your area. Hour by hour forecast shows that in Fargo, we stay quiet and we will stay cloudy with temperatures mild all evening long. The best chance of rain here doesn't come until after bedtime. I'll have details in your hour-by-hour forecast about that, Grand Forks forecast, and some cooler weather like we saw out west coming our way in a minute.
All right. Thanks, Hutch. For a second day in a row, top defense officials face tough questions on Capitol Hill, this time from a House panel on the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Were you of the opinion, in your professional military judgment, that we should have maintained 2,500 troops?
Yeah, my assessment that I read in the opening statement remained consistent.
An investigation into the August 29th drone strike that killed 10 civilians is also ongoing. House lawmakers have called for the public release of intelligence that led up to that attack. House members also pressed the military leaders on how they will monitor possible terroristic threats without a presence on the ground. As the partisan standoff continues on Capitol Hill, national financial disasters are looming. A government shutdown tomorrow night without a funding extension, and the U.S. defaults on its debt in under 3 weeks without extending the nation's borrowing limit. A major component of the Biden agenda also hangs in the balance, with feuds, both partisan and within the Democratic Party, threatening a bipartisan infrastructure deal. Alice Barr has the very latest from D.C.
Negotiations kicking into high gear on Capitol Hill before an urgent deadline to fund the government past midnight tomorrow and raise the debt ceiling by mid-October so the U.S. doesn't default on its loans, triggering a financial crisis.
Like $15 trillion in household wealth would go down the drain. Unemployment would go up to 9%.
If the government shuts down Friday, it would be the first time during the pandemic, putting hundreds of thousands of federal workers on furlough. Senate Republicans so far blocking steps to address the pair of fiscal threats in protest of Democrats' massive spending plans paid for by raising taxes on corporations and the wealthy.
They want to print and borrow trillions of dollars and then set it on fire.
Those spending priorities also bumping up against a self-imposed deadline the House expected to vote tomorrow on a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. But progressive Democrats are threatening to tank it if moderates within their party don't commit to a separate multi-trillion-dollar plan for healthcare, education, and climate programs.
We pass these things together and we can better the future of our country.
Moderate Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema meeting with President Biden and his staff trying to pare down the larger spending bill.
Faith, we're just in a different position. That's all. And you have to work through that. That's negotiation.
As top Democrats work to unite feuding factions, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying she'll take it step by step, though the runway is getting shorter.
Meanwhile, President Biden canceled a planned trip to Chicago today to talk about vaccine mandates so he could be in Washington for negotiations. He's under increasing pressure to do more to unite his party and get his agenda pushed through Congress. Enbridge says its Line 3 pipeline across Minnesota is complete and will become operational Friday. The project was completed despite stiff opposition from tribes and environmentalists that the 337-mile pipeline violated treaty rights, would worsen climate change, and would risk spills. Enbridge said it was necessary to replace and expand a deteriorating pipeline built in the 1960s. Positive cases in Clay County have decreased this week, but hospitals are seeing hospitalizations as high as last winter. There are 290 positive cases this week compared to 363 last week. The death toll in Clay County due to COVID-19 is now 97. With hospitals pretty close to capacity, the average age of the patient is 54. Many cases are breakthrough, while others are from patients that are not vaccinated. Hospitals are also concerned about continuing to be understaffed during this surge.
Concern is, of course, that they're at capacity and looking at the need to, maybe not accept some patients and having them go to other places. So their real concern is the number of cases they're seeing, in addition to all of the other cases that they normally have.
Clay County Public Health is not offering the COVID-19 booster shot this week. Nearly 200 Minnesota health workers are suing their employers to block pending requirement that they be vaccinated against COVID or risk getting fired. The lawsuit claims that the lack of alternative infringes on the constitutional rights of those employees. It seeks a temporary injunction to stop and terminations or steps to put unvaccinated health workers on unpaid leave while the case plays out. The CDC has issued an urgent health advisory for pregnant women, urging them to get vaccinated against COVID. The agency says this also applies to women who were recently pregnant. The CDC also says that only 31% of pregnant women are vaccinated.
We know that pregnant women are at increased risk of severe disease, of hospitalization and ventilation. They're also at increased risk for adverse events to their baby.
An estimated 70 million vaccine-eligible Americans have yet to start vaccinations, despite a summer surge in infections driven by the Delta variant. Meanwhile, the CDC is projecting that new COVID-19 deaths are likely to drop in the next 4 weeks. It's the first time since June that the agency has forecast a 4-week decrease in fatalities from the virus. It projects a total of 724,000 to 753,000 coronavirus deaths reported by October 23rd. Total COVID-19 deaths in the U.S. stand at just over 693,000. Also, for the third week, the CDC says new coronavirus hospitalizations will go down. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, more than 79,000 people were hospitalized with COVID-19 as of Tuesday. COVID booster shots don't appear to produce side effects more severe than a second dose. According to the CDC, less than a third of people who have received a third shot have reported any side effects. Of those who did, the most common complaints were injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. The CDC characterizes those effects as brief, ranging from mild to moderate. The data comes from more than 22,000 people. In Grand Forks Public Health, there will be moving its COVID vaccination clinic from Hugo's Family Marketplace to the Grand Cities Mall. It'll be located in the former Christian Bookshelf location. Now that's between the Ace Hardware and Play It Again Sports. Booster shots will also be available for those who are eligible. And for more information on how long you can get the shot, log on to our website. It's valleynewslive.com or our VNL News app. Hundreds of United Airlines employees may be losing their jobs soon. Details coming up later.
And from the Minnesota DNR, the fall color report still looking beautiful across the northern one half of Minnesota. In many areas near us, peak color conditions right now. Big time change is on the way. This is what it looks like in Ashley, North Dakota. Some rain and much colder air heading our way. I'll have hour by hour details right after this.